Hello! It's the first sunny day in absolutely ages, so to celebrate I thought I'd do a little video on axes. And I wanted to talk about axes because I've got here a selection, a whole bunch of axes and other wood splitting equipment. And the reason I wanted to talk about axes was because quite a few people I know, once they get a log fire or whatever, go out and get an axe. They all go and get one of these. It seems to be like the default axe. It's like the archetype of axes. So when people think about axes, this is what they go and get. Now that's really odd because this is a felling axe, really. That's what it's patterned on. And so, I mean, if you're going to chop down a tree, surely for the last couple of 100 years you'd use some kind of saw, even if you didn't have a power saw. So it's got a narrow blade for cutting into things. So if you use this, well, in fairness, it will chop through something like this, which is a piece of ash. There we go. This piece of ash has got lovely straight grain. So if you buy one of these and you chop through this, happy days, you'll be loving it. But as soon as you come across anything gnarly at all, anything with a bit of grain to it, a bit of wibbly grain, you're just going to bury this in there and it's going to get stuck. So the top tip is, don't buy a felling axe for splitting. So for splitting, traditionally you'd use something like this. This is a splitting maul. This one's covered in crap because I hardly ever use it. So this is much heavier. You can see how different it is to the felling axe. It doesn't look as cool, but it's much better for its job, which is splitting. So you see here, look at the difference between those two. So the splitting maul, it's just it's a big wedge on a stick. Got a wedge here actually. This is a traditional sort of splitting wedge, which will come to in a bit. And so you can see how this is shaped, that it just thuds into the wood and pops it apart. So that's your splitting maul. Now this is what I used for absolutely years, this sort of thing. It's been through loads of handles, and yeah, I got on really well with it. And then a while ago, on my birthday, my dad gave me one of these, which is a plastic handled Fiskars splitting axe, and it's a sort of, it's much lighter than this, but it's still got a wedge shaped compared to this. And I looked at this with its plastic handle and I was deeply unimpressed, but I thought I'd give it a shot since he bought it for me. It'd be rude not to. So I started using this, and in fairness, I love it. It's brilliant. It's a really clever shape. There's just enough material there to pop wood apart, and the best thing is, if it's really gnarly wood, the worst you can do is bury it in about ½ an inch, and then you just tap the end, it pops out, off you go. So out of all of these, tip the camera down a bit. That's for chopping down trees. That's for bludgeoning wood apart. If you want to give yourself an easy life, get something like this. This is a hatchet, and that's for chopping kindling, which I might cover at some other point. And you can see the shape of this is for popping wood apart as well, little bits of wood. So what do you do if you come across something that's really rather hefty, something really knotty and horrible? Well, what you can do is use a wedge, or if you're just not strong enough to power through it, you can hit it with a wedge, and rather than having to do the whole job in one like you do with an axe, you can work your way through slowly, one tap at a time, and pop it apart. So that's and I used to do this when I was a little kid. I started splitting wood. I used to love it. It never occurred to me that it was actually being useful to the family, but I suppose that's a nice side effect. But I'd rush home from school and I'd be out the back there splitting wood, and I split it with my little axe, and if I couldn't manage it with that, I'd use a lump hammer, which is a smaller version of this. This is a baby sledgehammer really. So a lump hammer has a handle that's about this long, it's otherwise very similar. So I'd be out there as a kid, smacking away, loving it. So again, the wedges have moved on. Nowadays you want something like this. So for really gnarly wood, you get this, it's called a wood grenade. Despite its exciting name, it doesn't actually blow anything up. It's effectively, see if we can focus on this, it's effectively 2 wedges in one. So it buries itself into really knotty wood and eventually pops it in several directions. A really nifty bit of kit. So essentially that's it. And remember, the overall point, the coolest looking axe is also the most useless for splitting wood. If you're feeling strong, splitting maul is essentially a wedge on a stick. Get the job done. If you're getting old like me, join the modern age and get this. Of course, at some point I wouldn't even be able to swing a high-tech axe, and I have to go and get a hydraulic splitter or make one. So that concludes that.